Hey guys, it's John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to IFL Inspiration for Your Life. I'm glad you dropped by. Do check out my hat. It says believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. So definitely check that out. Like all my content, love it, share it, and share it with your friends and colleagues and associates. And I'm very excited because June 21st marks the very first day that we have made page one on YouTube. So very excited about that. And that's only the beginning. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Whether you're here at 10:28 p.m., 10:28 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., doesn't really matter. Potato. I'm very grateful that you're here with me right now, tonight. All right, so I want to tell you about our master topic. Our master topic for the whole week has been a real doozy. It is called "Did You Catch Them in a Lie Today?" Yeah, I know that's great. And the topic is how liars manipulate to control. Whoa, that's a real, that's an eye opener. Uh, Again, this show tonight is not here to teach you how to become a liar. It's here so that you can be able to make the right decisions and know if somebody's actually manipulating you. Okay, that's what it comes down to, right? So hopefully you guys will gain some great tools here tonight with what we're going over. But lying is something that you know it becomes addictive. Okay, so let's just get right in, shall we? All right. The first thing is liars are master manipulators. They use deceit to control a situation. So before I can explain that, let's go over to our good friend Merriam-Webster. And let's talk about what deceit is, according to Merriam-Webster. A noun, the act of causing someone to accept as true or valid what is false or invalid. The act or practice of deceiving, deception, an attempt or deceive, action to deceive, trick, deceitfulness. The quality of being dishonest or misleading, the quality of being deceitful. So let's talk a little bit about this. So liars basically manipulate you, okay? They're expert manipulators. They will lie to you. They will do all kinds of crazy things, but they lie to you and they manipulate you, right? They get you to do something or think a certain way, even though you may not want to think that way. That's what a liar does. They're really good at it. All right, let's break this down a little more because there's a lot more to it. So a liar, they often will make excuses to avoid accountability. When I think about this, and I think about some of the people, back in high school or college, and they were very, how can I say, they were very, angry people. And the reason they were angry is because they thought that if they could be a certain way, okay, then they would be able to get you to be a certain way. So they would make excuses. Why are you doing it that way? Because, I do it that way because I've always done it that way, or I'm doing that way because of some other reason, right? That's what they do. How are you there? Good to see you. Nice to see you. I'm glad that YouTube sent you over here. Great. So I'm glad that you're here and you're checking it out. We're talking about liars, and this has been a whole week exposing liars for who they really are. And so welcome. So they make excuses. I know I had a roommate who would always get belligerent and make excuses when I didn't want to agree with him. And that was his way of controlling me because he would raise his temper. He would get very argumentative. And this is a big problem. And you know what? What he did for a while is he scared people. But I decided to not, cave into this. I decided to stand up to him. And my, let's say, manipulator or liar, he started to get physical and actually started to hit me and be in a fight. Because he realized that he was getting in deeper than he could handle. So he figured maybe if he used physical power, because his verbal power and his psychological power was going nowhere on me. And he didn't like that. And he was afraid that if I didn't believe a certain way, that I might say something. I did. And he didn't like that. So they blame others to avoid accountability. A liar doesn't want to be accountable, okay? They just want to live their life, even if it offends you, even if it's wrong. Remember, a liar is there to get you to be a certain way, even if you don't want to be that certain way. That's very important. Yep, that's right, CNA. Liars manipulate. Bullies are bullies. So the lying part. So what the liar basically does is they're trying to do something. Like, for example, they're trying to either befriend you or they might be trying to, like I said, manipulate you. So maybe they're trying to get you to do something. So they might say that this is better for you. And the reason it's better for you, not because it's better for you, but because they want something else or they want this. It could be anything simple from watching TV to going out. It could be anything. And so they lie about the truth, right? We often said the sky is blue, right? And so if somebody wants to argue the sky is blue, I mean, it's always blue, but there can be times when it's not blue, right? So if you look up and the sky is blue, it's blue. But if somebody tries to make you believe it's not blue, they're manipulating you. So liars are very good at manipulating people, manipulating groups. They like to get control. Okay, they basically they blame others in a common tactic to deflect their own attention. So let's say I pick something out on you that I don't like, and I do that to you because I figure if I attack you, and maybe you're not believing something I'm doing, so I'm going to attack you, and that's going to hopefully get you off base. So yeah, it depends on what you're lying about. Well, it basically is the concept, CA, that when somebody lies, they're into this whole thing. Now, early in the week, you may want to watch some of the shows. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday. We talked about the difference between a regular liar and actually one that is a pathological liar, right? And so people lie because they believe, well, so that was something we talked about, CNA. We talked about I lie them. So when somebody lies to spare somebody's feelings, and it's not going to harm that person or you, that's what we call a fib. And that's probably about that and the really main time that lying is somewhat acceptable is when it's there to, let's say, save somebody so that they're going to get hurt, or a safety issue. Like, you can't go in there because let's say, there's a flood. Now, there might be no flood, but I know the person that's there is allergic to rats, or maybe they don't like bees, or whatever it is, but I'm trying to save them. So I'm like, hey, this is what's what. No, you shouldn't lie to the cops at all. In fact, I'm a first responder and I'm friends with the cops. So the cops are here to help you. But a lot of people in this world want to try to get things over. If you speed, you deserve to get a ticket. If you don't wear a seatbelt, you deserve to get a ticket. If you hold a cell phone in your hand, you deserve to get a ticket, okay? I'm not here to get you out of jail or to get you out of trouble because you decide you want to act the way your buddies do, or because you decide you're not going to be responsible. See, that's a different caveat, but it's still lying. So we have the lying that is, done there so that you can basically save face. That's not okay to lie. There are two basic times when I don't want to say it's okay, but it's kind of like not frowned on as much. Cops are quite a bit. Like I said, I'm a first responder, and I can't tell you how many times the cops, they really help. Seconds count. First responding, I mean, the cops are there. Us as a BLS, basic life support, is there, and then the paramedics are there. So I think a lot of people might have had a bad situation. Maybe they got into a habit of speeding because of college or because of high school, and they fell into that trap. So people, if they're lying to keep somebody safe, like you might lie to an attacker, you might lie to a robber, right? You might lie to a stranger, like somebody comes to the door. Oh, my mom's, she's taking a shower. Maybe she's not, but you lie, you tell a fib because you don't really want to have them know that you're home alone. You get it? So that makes sense. So there's that. And then what you're saying, yes, it is an interesting angle. Thank you. If you were, let's say in your business, and let's say somebody calls you, right? And they say, I want to get something, and you say, hey, I'm out of, I budgeted out this year. Whether you did or you didn't, by you saying that, is that good or bad? Well, you're basically putting somebody out by not necessarily telling the truth, but you're just not wanting to be pestered. And if you say to them, hey, I'm not interested, they're probably not going to go away. So when you say, hey, I don't have the money, or I didn't budget for it, they go away. All right. So again, the two times, one would be for safety, any kind of life safety, either for you or for someone else, a loved one or stranger. That's number one. Number two, if you're trying to save somebody from a feeling, that didn't work that way, or you shouldn't do this because it's too dark outside. I remember one time when my grandfather said to me, he said, "Oh, John, you shouldn't go outside now. It's too dark outside." And he was telling me it was too dark outside because there were these groups, or there was gangs. Another time he told me not to go outside. I was driving, and he didn't want me to go outside because my Christmas gift was actually outside. So, I'm saying there's reasons. So lying, there's different levels of lying. And so what I do every day is say to myself, am I saying something that's going to harm me or harm another person? That's really where I have a problem with lying. If you're lying to make yourself better, okay, and take away from somebody else or hurt someone, that's downright wrong, and karma's going to get you for that, okay? If you're lying or you're telling a white fib because, you didn't want to do this, you didn't want to do that, or maybe a friend says, hey, I need help, and he says, well, gee, I'm really busy. Maybe you're not. I come right out to the friend and I say, look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I've asked you for help. You're always busy. I don't want to help you. Yeah, a white fib, right? A white fib is a lie in which you're not going to harm yourself or harm others, okay, or demean them or disrespect them. So that's very, very important for people to. Well, Santa Claus. Okay, so you have to realize that's something that's been put for a long time, right? And so not to really speak about Santa Claus because I do have kids that watch Santa Claus. So when people lie about that, it makes kids feel bad, and it actually harms them, right? So that's a problem when people say something like, there's not a Santa Claus, something like that harms them, right? That's something that can harm. Now, regardless of the stature of whether it's not or not, we're talking about something that isn't harming someone. Believing Santa Claus is a great thing, right? But is me telling you that, let's say doing X sit-ups or X times in the gym, am I lying to you? If I'm a business owner, I say, hey, you know what? You need to buy XYZ. Now, I'm lying to you to get more money. And, everybody's entitled to make more money. But if you're lying or giving a false, let's say, sense because you're trying to get more money, that's dishonest. And I didn't build 3 or 4 businesses up, and I didn't become number one on YouTube now by lying to people. I did that by helping people understand that we live, serve, and ask. Okay. So the next piece I want to share with you is they selectively choose which facts to share and withhold certain truths. For example, you might have had somebody that you went to, and they went and built something for you. And so everything looks great, but they lied to you because they didn't build it with the wood that you wanted, or they didn't build it to the specifications. Now, you may not know it right away, but they lied to you. Well, the tooth fairy. So you have to understand that these are things that are done to create an experience for kids, right? So is that harming anybody? No, it's not. But if I suddenly tell you that, the person outside or this person outside is a terrible person, or this person outside is whatever you want to call it. I'll give you a perfect example. So I had a very good friend of mine who had a situation in his life. I'm not going to go into the personal situation, but he had a personal situation. And so in order to get this person who was a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine, he lied to the police, and he lied to the law. And he went to the police department and the judge, and he said that the person was stalking him. Now, he wasn't. But because this person, that my good friend, was trying to become friends with, didn't really know who he was, and he really was like a manipulator or a controller. He thought that just by paying him out of money, he could just fabricate a case, and he did. He paid over $7,000 to have the courts or the law fabricate a case. And they fabricated this case. You might say, John, what's the big deal? Well, number one, my friend was going through lots of challenges. He couldn't sleep very well for the entire time. I think they brought the case against him I think it was actually in January, like the first or second week of January when he got back from vacation. And they actually issued a restraining order for him, and they arrested him. And so my friend was all clear and all, but because of this hearsay, because of what this other person did, threatening children with eternal hell. So I'm Roman Catholic, but I think this comes down to the fact that you live a life. I believe at the end of our world, we will be judged. Okay. No one's here to threaten you. We want to live the good rule. We want to help others. We want to live and be treated the way we want to be treated. So what happened in this situation is that January, that February, that March, April, May, June didn't get resolved until I think it was like just about 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. So he was putting threats against my friend, and he was like constantly getting called by the cops, and it was just a bunch of nonsense. And finally, I was talking. I said, I'll call him Brian. That's his name. Brian, you got to counteract. Oh, they said I can't. I said, baloney. You can counteract. And so we filed a countersuit against them. And now the state was no longer interested in my friend because they realized this was so judged by who? Well, I don't know what your religion is. So, I mean, that's a loaded question for you, buddy. So I don't know. I'm not here to tell you to believe in someone or to not believe in someone. I can tell you who I believe in. But that's not a discussion for the show. I'm not really about religion, but I can tell you that I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. That's me. That's not saying you have to do that, but that's me. And I give gratitude for every moment of life that I'm here to live. But I never try to push my religion or what I believe on others. What I do try to do, and I do as a motivational speaker, is I tell people to become a better version of themselves. Why? Because if you become a better version of yourself, you can help other people become better versions of themselves. And when people grow together, it's like you bond and you learn from each other. So what happened in this situation was we brought a countersuit against my friend's person that was bringing him into court. And so I think it was about a month before the final hearing at the court, and he got a letter sent to him. And it was a restraining order to him, and basically saying that because he went before the judge says, I don't want all this nonsense. And he says, Your Honor, I didn't start this nonsense. He said, this is not the Geraldo Rivera show. He said, Your Honor, I didn't start this. This other guy did this. He says, all right, I'll grant it. So they brought him to court. And once they did this, the state, which is of the state of New Jersey, they dropped the case. They wanted nothing to do with this guy. They wanted nothing to do with this guy at all. And so my friend's there and this other guy's there, and he's like, what happened with the state? And he's like, well, do you have an attorney or not? Well, I thought the state was going. The state's no longer interested in pursuing Mr. Such and Such. Well, why? Well, the state has dropped the interest because the person that you were, going after, the defendant, he has decided to counter sue you. What? So if you want to continue in this court, you're going to need to get an attorney, or you're going to need to drop charges. So all of a sudden, my friend's like, okay, they decide to go into a room for a discussion first. And he raises his hand because he's like, I know there's a restraining order. He says, I just want to ask permission to speak. And I said, okay, you can speak. He says, I think what we have here is just a bunch of nonsense. It's just a bunch of misunderstandings and miscommunication. And I'm happy to drop all charges against everyone if they do the same for me. And just, everybody just goes their own way. I think there was a miscommunication. And I think some people just, because of the miscommunication, don't know how to handle certain things. And I'm not here to judge that. I'm just here to say that we should. So the person listened. I brought it back to the court. And they were going to drop the charges. And then they said to my friend's person that was trying to charge him, well, I'm not dropping the charges. Well, unless he drops this. Well, that's what I was about to say. We're going to drop the charges. If you drop the charges, he's also agreeing to drop the charges. Oh, and he was just like this very pompous millennial kid. Again, nothing against millennials, but he just was like this, I know it all. My dad has a lot of money, and I come from a great family too that's very well off, but I never threw around money. I never used it to buy people. I never used the law in an illegal manner. And so this person actually lost a very big trust from his father. And his father wound up coming to court. And my friend shook his hand. He says, I'm very sorry. I said, no, I'm very sorry. He says, if my son ever does this, so help me, to any other person again, as long as I live, I will disown him. Now, those are very strong words. So the other thing that a liar will do is they will stay general, right? Staying vague and general, right? They won't get to the specifics. Like, oh, where'd you go? Out. Where'd you go out? Mall. What'd you do at the mall? Ate. What restaurant did you go to? Some Italian one. Like, they're being very general. And then they don't want to share anything. Well, what happened? I don't know. Or what happened to the car? I don't know. Well, it came back with a dent. Yeah, I came back. It had a dent. Well, did you lock the car? Yeah. Well, did you call the police? Yeah. So did you get a police report? No. Are you going to get one? Probably not. So they're saying very general. And so when you do this, you figure that you're being safe, but really what you're doing is you're trying to cover. It's almost like I was saying earlier in the week when somebody covers their private areas, whether it's their throat, groin, abdomen, ears. They're trying to cover something. If somebody shuffles their feet or they're fidgety, like with a pen or clicking, they're trying to hide something and hope that you don't find them out. All right. The next thing that they do is they exaggerate. Exaggeration. It's another tool in their arsenal to mislead. So by them exaggerating, that's it. But the real big one, believe it or not, is a lot of liars turn into bullies when the lie can't be believed. Some of them turn to violence. And that's really a problem. So this entire week, we started out with a lot of different topics. If you remember, in the beginning of the week, we actually started back. We talked about a lot of things, didn't we? We talked about the fact that, there are many ways, as we said, to spot a liar. That's what we talked about. We talked about, in the beginning of the week, we talked about body language, right? Certain body language indicates they're lying. Facial expressions, right? We talked about paying attention to the tone and sentence structure, right? We talked about what that means. We talked about looking at the mouth and the eyes, listening to how they refer to themselves, right? Have all the answers. So a liar, will refer to themselves differently. Well, what do you mean, John, by that? The best way to kind of, recap without getting into the whole thing. It basically is how they're talking about, right? So I guess that's really the question. How does a liar refer to himself? So they'll refer to themselves. They tend to avoid using words like I or me. They're more into things like sometimes they'll speak about themselves in a third person, like, well, if one did this, or if someone was to do this, this is how it happened. If they say things like I, or, that was me that was responsible, that's the kind of thing that's going to push people. Because now if you're listening for these different keys that I'm just sharing with you, right, you're listening to the keys of lying. So the one big one, again, is body language. And we have there's a whole show on body language in the beginning of the week. I'm not going to go through it now. Facial expressions. Pay attention to tone and sentence structure, right? We talked about how they can inadvertently raise their voice, lower the voice, but they lower or raise it at points that don't flow. It's like it's just so out of sync. They have all the answers. They're trying to prove they're honest, right? When somebody says to me, "Oh, you want me to be honest with you?" No, lie to me. It'd probably be better. And so I think when you go on this path, a lot of people don't expect you to say something like, lie to me. Okay. But when you say to somebody, hey, I want to be honest with you. Now, if it's somebody you don't know and you say, I want to be honest with you, especially if you keep repeating that, people are going to think that you are trying to manipulate them, right? What I usually do when I'm talking to somebody is to say, look, this is the way it happened. If you don't believe it, it's perfectly fine. I'm not here to make you believe it. So this is what happened. But if you don't want to believe it, I don't care. See, that's not somebody who's lying. That's somebody who's trying to tell the truth, but you could still be a jerk, right? So a lot of liars lie because they want to get control. They want to get power. They want to get money. They want to get relationships. I've known so many people when I was in high school that would lie about a relationship because they wanted to get control over it. And they wanted to manipulate so you weren't dating that person or being around that person, even in your own same gender, right? That, they didn't want certain buddies to be together because, no, he's my best buddy and you can't be his best. So there's like a whole thing about that. And so when you start to realize that somebody's lying and say, hey, look, I gotta tell you something. I've been hanging with you for a long time and you're probably not going to, agree with me. And that's fine. But I refuse to hang around someone who's going to keep trying to manipulate me. So I think we probably should just break ties. People are like, what are you doing? So ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been an amazing privilege. Of course, a pleasure and honor to be with you this fantastic evening. And remember, liars manipulate and control because they want to get something. They want power. They want relationships. They want money. The liar basically believes their own crap. And when they believe their own crap, it's like they expect everybody else to believe it. And then you start like challenging. Like I remember this one kid, he was in my high school and my college, and I'll call him Mark. I'm like, hey, Mark, what are you talking about? I just told you. Yeah, all right, well, just say it again. So what are you going to do next? I'm not going to repeat myself again. Now, the only reason they don't want to repeat themselves again is because they're afraid that you might be taking mental notes of what's going on. And when you ask them to repeat it, now you said you're going to go to the gym and then you're going to go to get lunch, right? And then after that, you were going to go back and study, right? But you just told me that you were going to study and then you were going to go to lunch and then the gym. So I'm not sure like why you don't want to go to the gym with me, but it's okay. It's no big deal. I guess maybe you're telling me that because you don't want me to hang out. Like, just be honest with me. If you don't want me to hang with you, I mean, just tell me the truth. I mean, I'm an adult. That's all it comes down to. Ladies and gentlemen, I really enjoyed bringing this segment to you today and this week because I think lying is something that causes people to feel bad about themselves. It causes people to stop dead in their tracks. It causes people to change because they stop believing. And I've said this before, ladies and gentlemen, you have to believe before you can achieve. So believe me, achieve.com to create your amazing, inspiring creations and see all my great stuff up there. All right, guys, have yourself a fantastic night. And I'm going to catch you guys real soon. All right, be well. And remember, these videos are not here to teach you how to lie. They're here to tell you how to be perceptive. So when somebody does lie to you, you can be a little more wiser instead of being weary about what to do. You're starting to know the facts. The more you practice lie detection, the better you'll get. It'll become second nature. Have yourself a great rest of your day.